Oh, sorry. I was thinking about something and I forgot that I pressed start. I'm going to talk about how we may be under attack, and I'm talking about a lot of brown women. I hope it's okay for me to bring this up because I want to see if there's something going on, okay? Recently, April 12th, I felt like I might have been dehydrated. I was always thirsty and stuff like that. Something was going on. And I went to the emergency room because I thought I was just dehydrated. And I was just like, maybe they can put me on something. I was dehydrated. Next thing you know, they came back with a test saying I had all this stuff going on with my blood. And my blood count was real low. Okay, my blood count was real low. I've always had a type of anemia. That's not a surprise. But I do remember all of a sudden I just had trouble breathing in the last few days before I went to the emergency room. I had trouble breathing and stuff. It's like I couldn't walk too far without having to catch my breath. And then when I went to the emergency room, I thought maybe it was dehydration. And then they told me my blood count was 4. It was real low. I mean, it was below 5. And the count is supposed to be 10 or 11. The lowest should be 7. Mine was below 5. It's like that it just dropped all of a sudden like that, okay? And I thought it might have been because I have a lifelong history of heavy cycles ever since I was 10 years old. So I didn't make a big deal out of it. I thought that could have been what it was. Somebody left a comment in my comment section. I really hope this is okay, because I know sometimes people don't really like things to be out like that. But somebody left a comment in my comment section about how suddenly when they went to a hospital and they had all these things going on with them, and then they found out that all of a sudden their blood count was low, and they thought it was strange, and the nurses thought it was strange too when they went into the hospital. And now I'm starting to look at things as if I think a lot, people are under attack altogether, but I think a lot of brown women are under attack. I do believe so. I believe a lot of brown women are under attack. And under spiritual attack, but brown women have always been under spiritual attack. There is definitely, I wanna show you, whenever I get a chance, I want to show you, upload this thing that I talked about, electronic harassment. It looked like a cartoon of a so-called black lady that was just jogging. And they showed this electronic harassment, like these things that they put around in, I don't know where they put it. It's attached to your consciousness because there's no such thing as a sky. Okay, we're like in either you can call it a holographic world or you can call it a virtual reality. Either way, there is no sky, there is no outside, okay? But, so that means that they attach stuff to your consciousness, okay? They're messing with your mind because the mind is not really attached to the thing in your head that you think is a skull. It's a consciousness, it's a computer brain, okay? And they attach it to, I guess, the brain that you use that's actually controlled by a computer and other handlers. And they showed this black woman, this so-called black woman jogging, going on a jog. And then they had 8 people, I think it was 8 people just standing around, controllers of the mind. That's the real government. That's what I call the government, the governors of the mind, right? The governors of the mind. These people stood around and they pressed something, some kind of button, as this woman was jogging. It's like they're watching her through a screen. She don't know that she's being watched. It's almost like they're watching her through her own, what she thinks is her mind. They're watching her through her mind. It's like a movie screen, and this woman is jogging. And they press something, and it looked like this shock went through this woman's body. I've experienced that. Okay? This shock is a cartoon woman. She was jogging, and these 8 people standing around something that looked like some kind of screen, and they looking at this woman jogging. Let me tell you something. The mind, the brain is a computer. In the virtual reality, I believe it's a virtual reality. Some people say holographic world. I don't care. The government is people who govern the minds. Could be a man or a woman, okay? And you don't know what they look like because they're hidden, right? They literally control your mind. They literally control your mind. They actually mess with the computer that's this brain that you use. And they press a button, all of them press this button at one time, and they shocked the hell out of this woman as she was jogging, and she didn't know what happened to her. Okay? This was a cartoon about an example of electronic harassment. Now, it's a lot of spiritual work that's done on so-called brown women too, or so-called black women or brown women too. It's a lot of spiritual work done on them, on her. So I don't want to act like that don't exist. But for the most part, a lot of people are doing spiritual work to each other. That is not the real reason why brown women are the way they are. I said it in a recent upload about my story of depression and anxiety. Most brown or black women are clones. Here's what I mean by clone. I don't mean somebody took them to some lab and cloned them, even though that could have been done too, but I mean that a lot of trauma happened to young black so-called women when they were little girls. And then the trauma never stops, and then they don't get help, and then they get abuse. And they get to the point where they vibrate so low with the trauma as a child that their soul separates from them. Because the soul is on a high vibration, and they've been through so much trouble that they're on a lower vibration. And so a lot of black women, so-called black women, are not connected to their original, they're not connected to their souls anymore. They're not connected to their original consciousness. And on top of that, you keep dealing with trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma. And you know what? I'm going to keep uploading videos kind of repeating this, but in a different way, because this needs to be drilled in, and I'm doing this with myself. That's why I'm going to drill it into anybody who hear it. That is the biggest thing that so-called brown women, anybody need to work on that can get it, but a lot of brown women have been separated from their souls. They have been separated from their original consciousness. They let you know what the threat is. Now, electronic harassment is not just used on brown people or so-called black women. I don't want to make so-called black women into a victim, because to be honest with you, when I described this to a Caucasian man, he quickly gave me the answer, because he was a targeted individual. A lot of white people, Caucasian people are targeted individuals. Okay, so I don't want to make the so-called black woman not to be a victim. A lot of white people get attacked. A lot of them get attacked by electronic harassment. Okay, and they can explain this from the tutti to the fruity. Or from the rooty to the tooty. That's what it is, from the rooty to the tooty. They can explain this like no one's business. Some of them can, okay? All right? You get videos online about uploads, how electronic harassment, and how you can what you call it? It's like an electronic harassment jammer. It's like these little uploads where you can like mess up the signals with the electronics so they don't bother you as much, right? These white folks doing this, they already know all about it. But the reason why I say they could know all about it, because they are connected to this particular intelligence. A lot of so-called black people, this is an artificial intelligence for them, because they are the old gods. They come from a different intelligence, which is really their own souls. That's a different intelligence. A lot of white people, this is their original intelligence. So for a lot of brown or so-called black people, this is artificial intelligence for them. Now there's another artificial intelligence or alien intelligence. Like I said, it only means that it's not the original. It's not your original. For this is the white people's original, but it's artificial for brown people because it's not our original intelligence. Okay, and many of us have been separated from our souls. So if we're not using the intelligence from our own souls, and we're using the intelligence in this particular matrix, it's artificial. So a lot of us are mostly using artificial intelligence. That's why we're clones. Okay, I don't mean that to sound bad. This is my truth. It might not be 100% fact, but this is just my experience. This is my experience, right? And so I just say my experience. It's nothing that I can tell you that's written in a book, but I bet you it is written in the book. I give my own experiences, and a lot of things that you read in the book come from somebody else's experience anyway. So why not use my own? Okay. But anyway, yeah. I just want to say that. Now, I say that to say, with the attacks on a lot of brown women, attacks. If you felt like you deal with these shocks every once in a while, you feel like you feeling like these tingles and burns all over your body, and then something goes away. That's also electronic harassment. Pins, feel like something kind of sticking you with pins. That's electronic harassment, or those could be archons too. But to me, archons, those are fourth dimensional beings that's in the fourth dimension that mess with your head. But that's not the real name, but that's what I'm going to call it, because that's what a lot of people use, and I use well-known names. That's not the real names. It could be just the government doing stuff again. And with that being said, this is the main point. With all this going on, I for sure, and that's the reason why I turned off the media. That's the reason why I turned off media. For the most part. And I tried to watch a couple of things and I turned it back off, because when I turn things back on after not listening to stuff for 5 days and I turn it back on, then I just don't want to hear it at all. It's almost like I detox from it. When I go back to it, it's like I don't want to hear it. Because you got to catch up with stuff, and then you don't have the desire to catch up with it because you don't detox yourself from it. But who has time? If you're going through any of this that I just explained, it should be no more energy. There's no more room. There's nothing left to give to whatever's going on in somebody else's life. There's no more energy to give to somebody who want to say something about so-called brown women. There's no more energy to give to whatever is racism. There's no more energy to give to these pandemics, and constantly giving our attention to what they're throwing out there, cooking up in labs and wanting to put out into the doggone universe and get everybody scared about it, and then call themselves want to take food off the shelves. Then they got ticks and beef and stuff. They just want to, I ain't got time for that. Listen, I get to the point where I don't need to eat no more. How about that? You can do that. A lot of these people are spiritual that meditate more than 10 hours a day. They done got to the point where they don't even need to eat, because they done became so much into the spirit, they don't need to eat. That's what happens when you get less physical and more spiritual. You don't need to eat. You lose your appetite, and you don't have to eat. So they can take all the food they can off the shelves. Get to a point where we get more in the spirit. We don't need to eat. How about that? Okay? And then they won't exist anymore either. While they messing around, they won't exist anymore either. The thing is, they know most of the world ain't gonna do that. They know they can mess with most of the world. Most of the world ain't gonna get to that point of spirituality. They know that. Okay? Because they got most of the world to a point where they need to make money to survive. And so the last thing they're thinking about, the world is thinking about, is being spiritual and getting to that point of spirituality, because that's not in their consciousness. Most of the world, and especially in the United States of America, most of their consciousness is in the root material world. It's stuck on survival. It's not about spirituality at all. It's survival. So these entities, these governments, are going to get what they want from most of the people in the world. Okay? Anyway, but for the people who's listening, and I'm just speaking from what I feel, whatever somebody want to say about so-called brown women, call them masculine, whatever, however they want to criticize, I don't have room to care about what anybody else got to say. I don't even know who these folks are. All this stuff that's going on with other celebrities and their personal business, what's going on with their husbands and wives. I mean, what can I do for them? They got more money than I do, and they can buy another house. They can get a car. Okay, I don't need to be worried about what's going on with Kim Kardashian. And let me tell you something. I don't even know what's going on with Kim Kardashian and what's that rapper name? What's his name? That rapper that she was. Nah, I haven't been away from radio. Kanye West. I ain't been away from radio that long to not know who he is. It's been so long since I cared. But Kanye West. Even if he's not a billionaire, he got more money than I do. Even if Kim Kardashian is not a billionaire, she got more money than I do. If something traumatic is going on with Kanye West, guess what? He got the money to go away to a doggone retreat. How about that? I got to keep working. I don't worry about people with money. They got money. If it bothers them that bad, they can go on a vacation, go somewhere and relax. I can't do that right now, so why do I care about their lives? They need to give me money. They need to pay me to care. Pay me to give energy to your situation to care. Because right now, the only energy I can give is to myself. And the only reason I'm talking is because it's a relief. I do these uploads because it's a doggone relief. Sometimes you got to let things out instead of holding things in. Okay? But anyway, I just want to bring that up. I don't think I have anything else to say, and if I do, I'll just do another upload. And I will talk to you later. Okay.